Hello everyone, my name is Shankar Ray. I'm your mentor. Today I am uh, going to cover the subject Indian Polity for the civil services examinations. So I have prepared this particular lecture series which we are going to cover in a phase-wise manner in the times to come. And I am going to limit myself according to the syllabus what has been prescribed. So let us try to understand and go to the index or the topics which I am going to cover in the consequent video lectures. Now from the index you can see today is the video number 1, that is a lecture number 1, where I'm only going to discuss the topics uh, that we are going to learn together. Now subsequently I'm also going to discuss, for example, in the video number 2, lecture number 2, I'm going to discuss about the Indian Constitution historical underpinnings, its evolution and features. That's primarily is a story of how the Indian Constitution has evolved throughout the historical time period, considering the fact the transition of from the East India Company to the British Government of India, then now the India is a sovereign country after 1947. At the same time, I'm also going to discuss on the features of the Indian constitutions that comprises of the uniqueness of our Indian constitution, which was primarily crafted in the Constituent Assembly. In the lecture number 3, I am going to discuss the provisions and the basic structures. For example, the part 1 of Indian constitution, that is related to the Union and states. And for example, article 1 that transcribes into the India, that is Bharat shall be union of states. So is the various provisions which also deals with our governing procedure, like part 5, part 6 of Indian constitution that primarily deals with the union and the states. And what are the provisions that also governs the functionings as well as the responsibility of the executive body, parliament, as well as the judiciary body. So is a case for the basic structure. All of you know about the very famous case of case Swananda Bharati versus state of Kerala, to be very precise, on date 24 April 1973. For the first time the Supreme Court has highlighted India also has the basic structure, that is the birth of the basic structure, where the Supreme Court has clearly stated the Indian Parliament can amend any part of the Constitution provided it cannot amend the basic structure. So we are also going to discuss on the what are the basic structures and what are the list of the basic structures that we can understand from various judgments of the Supreme Court and also High Courts. So is the case for the Indian Constitution and its amendments. Now primarily when we talk about the constitutional amendments and what are the amendments that has also brought the Indian Constitution today into life. Now from the day way back to 1951, the first constitutional amendment. So what are the various provisions and what are the important points from the examination point of view. At the same time, also a couple of landmark amendments, like for example the 42nd constitutional amendment. So is the case for the 44th constitutional amendment, that all of you know. 42nd constitutional amendment sometimes it is also highlighted as the mini constitution, because there are so many provisions of the constitution which has been altered during the regime of the Indira Gandhi as she was the prime minister. So as a like in the lecture number 5, we are also going to discuss the functions and the responsibilities of the union and the states. Now we clearly know that we are having a prescribed a list, that is a union list, state list, as well as the concurrent list. So what are the functions and the responsibility to the union, and what are the functions and the responsibility to the states? And when we talk about the union and the states, in the union basically we are going to discuss about the executive and the parliament. So is the case for the states, we are going to discuss about the state executive and the state legislature. Now in the video number 6, the issues and challenges pertaining to the federal structure. Now all of you know that India is a country which is also known as the quasi-federal, that is a blend of the federal as well as the unitary system. Now, while dealing with the federal characteristics, the how the coordination between the center and the state that happens, and what are the challenges that we will look into it. Now, in the video number 7, the lecture number 7, we are also going to discuss the development of the powers and the financial of the local levels. You know that uh, um, we are having a three-tier government, that is a union government, state government, as well as a local self government. Now, that is normally which is known as the Panchayat Raj institutions. So, of course, we know to run the administrative procedures, we need a specific powers as well as the finance. So, how the finances and the powers are being deliberated or decentralized in terms of the functions of the local levels, that we are going to look into the lecture number 7. Video number 8, the lecture number 8, we are also going to discuss about the separation of power between the various organs and dispute redressal mechanisms. So that's basically we are going to discuss. Do you recall, if you can particularly try to understand, we are having a the principle of natural justice also to be referred. Now, to be very specific to the separation of power, we are having a doctrine of separation of power for the first time, which was proposed by the very famous French philosopher, political philosopher Montesquieu, when he highlighted that there has to be a three wings of the government, that is judiciary, executive, as well as the legislature, which needs to be separated from each other. We are going to look into how the separation of power or the doctrine of separation of power is also applicable to the India's context. Now, understanding the lecture number 9, we are going to understand the comparison of Indian constitution schemes with that of other countries. Now, all of you know that we are having a basically a classification of the constitution, that is written constitution and as well as the unwritten or the non-written constitutions. So in the written constitution, few examples I can highlight to you, like India, we are having USA, we are having Sri Lanka, we are having China, and especially the non or the unwritten constitutions we can highlight as a UK constitutions. So we are going to have a brief comparison how our Indian constitution is different from that of the other countries. Now, lecture number 10, we are going to cover the parliament and the state legislature. All of you know that when we are talking about legislature wing as an organ, the parliament and the state, and what are the bicameralism, what is Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha in the state legislature, we are going to discuss regarding the legislative assembly. Some states also have, along with the assembly, the councils, especially the structure and its functions. Now, in the lecture number 11, we are going to discuss its business of the code of conduct or the conduct of the business. Now, in the lecture number 12, we are also going to discuss the parliament or the state legislature powers and the privileges. Powers and privileges, especially to the member of parliaments or to the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha or MLAs, that is a member of legislative assemblies and member of legislative councils. Now, in the lecture number 13, we are going to discuss regarding the judiciary, the structure, organization, functioning of the executive and the judiciary ministries. Now, 14 is primarily regarding the people, that is, pressure groups and the formal, informal associations, roles in polity, salient features of the Representation of the People Act, which governs the some sort of elections. Also, it also gives us the power to vote. Now, video number 15, that is lecture number 15, we will be discussing on various constitutional bodies, like for example, we are having UPSC, we are having the NHRC. So we'll be discussing on couple of powers and functions, the responsibilities of the various constitutional bodies. In the last video, that is video number 16, we are also going to discuss on the statutory and regulatory of various quasi-judicial bodies. So that's basically when we talk about the judiciary part, then we restrict ourselves to the Supreme Court and the High Courts, but there are also certain quasi-judicial bodies that we are going to look into it. Now, these are the whole thing which we are going to cover in our subsequent classes. Total 16 number of lectures I'm going to deliver. But the most important point which you need to understand, that the syllabus mentions specifically these are the points, and there are so many subtopics which are also needed to understand. I hope that I have given you some certain reference books and this particular Indian polity is a part of your paper 3, that is General Studies 2, which covers primarily the governance, constitution, polity, social justice, and international relations. Now in the books, I would always recommend to you people to follow M. Lakshmikant, P.M. Bakshi, D.D. Basu, and Dr. B.L. Fadia. Now I'll just give you a brief about the books as well. This P.M. Bakshi book is not a textbook. It is only for the reference to understand various articles. If you are also using a smartphone, I would always recommend please download the Indian Constitution applications. So for that reason, you may not require these PM Bakshi books. Now the basic difference between the M. Lakshmikant and the D.D. Basu, I will always encourage and urge the students whose uh, optional papers is the political science and international relations. You may choose to refer D.D. Basu and Dr. B.L. Fadia. Well, while I was preparing for my UPSC examination, my optionals were also the political science and international relations, and I used to follow this D.D. Basu and Dr. B.L. Fadia along with certain portions of the M. Lakshmikant only for the general studies purpose. So there is no restriction. If you have already purchased the books of M. Lakshmikant, do not switch the books from Lakshmikant to D.D. Basu or Dr. B.L. Fadia. If you have not purchased, you can take a call on purchasing any of the book. All the books are good. So finally, understanding the, I'm going to start the real lectures from the lecture number 2, that is Indian Constitution, historical underpinnings, evolution, and its features. And before I conclude the lecture number 1, I would also like to highlight that Indian polity is one of the very interesting subject where you are going to understand a lot of articles, a lot of procedure, how does the government functions and what's its roles, how it is related to the law, how it is related to the people. So many of the times I also receive a lot of questions regarding how to remember the articles, and I can tell you that there is no shortcut to remember the articles. Only the way you can remember is to revise again and again. And with that note, and please contact me if you are having any kind of query or any kind of questions, and I'm looking forward to see you again. Thank you so much.